Duh.
Hi.
Hello.
Hello. This is Rolanda and
Dalle with Go Crown Credit.
Yes, and we are on Top Atlanta. We're filming live stream. Yes, on Facebook.
Yes.
Thank you guys for tuning in. So, before we get started, I'm going to ask you the hardest question for me.
Okay.
What is your name? I know it's Dalle Garcia.
That is right.
Okay, so what is your name?
Okay.
How do you pronounce your real name?
My name is Dalle. It's a 12-letter name.
Okay.
So everyone calls me Dalle.
Okay.
But I do have a Hebrew name.
Okay.
Which you probably see on social media.
Yes.
And it's Kaya Gabar Yasharala.
Okay.
I know.
So I didn't want to jack that up because you're so pretty, and I didn't want to jack it up and just be real janky.
It's
okay, so let me say it with you.
Kaya Gabar
Yasharala.
Yeah, and it has a very deep meaning.
So what does it mean?
And it's in Hebrew.
Okay.
And I study Hebrew because I've been into the Bible for like 7 years heavy. I met this blind man on the bus in New York City.
Really?
And he became like my teacher. He became my spiritual father. And he's like the Book of Eli. Any of you seen the movie, The Book of Eli? He's blind in the movie, but he knows the scriptures in his heart and his spirit.
Interesting.
So he was telling me about who we are, our history, that the so-called Negroes are the real Jews that the Bible speaks of.
Right.
So I never heard anything like that. I've always been about my people and trying to
uplift. We don't know our history. Yeah.
And we're the only people that when you ask them, what is their nationality? They say, well, oh, I'm black, which is a color of a crayon. That's not a nationality. African American means two continents, named after two Europeans that we were a people before those names came into existence. Negro. So we are the children of Israel. Wow. The Hebrews of the Bible.
I love it.
So Kaya means, it's a Hebrew name, it means alive, to give life. And Gabar means warrior. Yasharala means of Israel. Because I like to uplift my people and pretty much drop the seeds about who we are. And help them in any way I can from my experience.
Good for you. I'm impressed.
I give all the glory to the Most High.
That's what I love. Me too. Love
yes,
it.
yes,
love
sister.
It.
Yes.
So, okay, so let's talk about your business. Okay. So the name of your company is Jubilee Debt Delete.
That's one of my companies that I established back in 2010.
Okay.
And it was discharging debts. Many people don't know about debts. Debts are fictitious. Although in this country, in the United States, you need to have debt to be able to get a credit rating, a credit score.
Right. Okay.
But when I did more depth research on debts, I realized that debts are fictitious, and no bank ever brought you any money. Like, for instance, when you get a mortgage, and if you go into the etymology of the word mortgage, it's like death. Well, what is mortgage? Well, no bank ever came with a briefcase and said, here, Rolanda, here is $300,000 on the home that you just purchased. So what really went down? What happened here? Well, you're signing away and giving consent. And it's so deep. It's like you have to go into depth with this research, with the rabbit hole.
So why did you get into it? What made you decide to get into credit repair?
And that's a great question because I have an economics degree.
Right.
You
went to Albany?
Yes, the University at Albany in New York. Yep. And I graduated in 2000. I'm still young, all right?
Hey, baby. You look good.
Thank you, too.
Don't crack.
Hello. So, I study economics and finance. I've always loved numbers. And I was like, okay, when I came out of college, I was looking for positions. You know, that's like the norm. You go look for a job. And I was looking for positions. I was sending my resumes everywhere with financial firms. And it just so happens that my first position was at a real estate law firm. And that's where everything just started just building with the real estate, with the background on real estate, how to review title. I was like the right-hand person of the attorney. So I learned a lot about real estate, and everything goes hand in hand because if you do real estate, majority of the time, if you're a first-time home buyer, you need good credit. You need good credit so that you'll be able to get financing to be able to purchase your home. And that's exactly what happened. So I started getting into this mortgage business. I became a real estate agent, and I was kind of like double dipping. So if you needed a house, I would get you approved for the mortgage, and I would also get you the house. So I would go to a closing table, and most attorneys would be like, wait a minute, so you get 2 checks in this transaction?
I love it.
I was like, well, yes. And then they would be like, well, that's illegal. And I'm like, no, here's my dual agency agreement. And my client knows that I'm going to be providing these two services.
Transactions.
Yeah. So it was amazing because I learned a lot, and that's what got me into the whole credit and helping my people, because they're the ones that need the help.
Exactly.
They couldn't get homes. They were like, I want to be a homeowner. I want to achieve the so-called American dream. But they didn't know how, because we are financially illiterate. Our people need that help. They don't understand. They kind of fear it.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where if it's too complex, we won't even attempt to get involved. What are some of the misconceptions about credit?
That's a great question.
Yeah, what are some of the
getting back to what I was saying about how our people fear, they fear what they don't understand, and that's in the scriptures. They fear numbers, so they're like, okay, I've been denied. I tried to go get a store credit card, and I couldn't get the card. So then they kind of say, they get discouraged. They're like, well, how can I get a home then? Well, there's a process.
Okay, and so what is that process?
The first step that I tell people is pull your credit.
And how often should you pull your credit?
Well, you want to have a monitoring service that you assign yourself to. I normally use privacyguard.com. We have Credit Check Total. They have several, but I like Privacy Guard. They seem to be a little bit more accurate than most. And it gives you all 3 credit bureaus in one report.
And what are those credit bureaus?
Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. That would be called the tri-merge. So that gives us the whole picture of what's happening in that credit. They're like, okay, let's see what's reported. Now, the big misconception in response to your question is that most people think that what's there is going to stay there forever. Well, yeah, if you don't attend to it. I always tell my clients, grab the bull by the horns. Don't let the credit control you. You control it, because it can change. We have laws that protect us as consumers. We have Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, disputes and violations and fair trade commissions that can support the fight against these reportings that are negative against you, that won't allow you to move forward. Instead of being stagnant, let's move forward. How do we move forward? By starting to look at what you have in front of you. What is your credit looking like? What's on it? What are the negative things that are affecting you? Let's start fighting these things, because they can be removed. And people are surprised. They're like, you removed my judgment. I can't believe it. I had a bankruptcy. How do I rebuild myself? There's so many different solutions and programs that can help people.
So so let's talk deeply into what should be on your credit report and what should not be, like the derogatories. If someone had, say, a credit card or maybe a medical bill on that report, how long will it stay on there? And if you do attempt to pay it off, you negotiate, you attempt to pay it off, and you pay it off, but it still shows up, what are the repercussions of that?
Well, a lot of times there's different types of medical information that goes on someone's credit report. It could be, they're always from a third party debt collector. Whenever you receive this mail that's on your credit as well, it'll say, this is an attempt to collect a debt. When you see that fine print, then you know that, okay, do I have a contract with these people? Have I consented to do any kind of business with these people? Because at the end of the day, your signature is everything. That's why everything is like, can you sign here? Here, sign here. Because without it, there's no contract. No contract, no debt. No contract, no debt. So
with that, if you do decide to pay it off, do you pay it off to the original creditor, or do you pay it to that person, the company that actually is collecting the debt?
Well, usually how I deal with the third party debt collectors, I'm not paying the third party debt collector.
Because that's what a lot of people don't know. So that's why.
Because at the end of the day, they're not the due holder in course. They don't have any legal ramifications on that debt, so they would have to prove it without a reasonable doubt, and they can't, because they don't have an original contract with your signature indicating that, yes, I do agree that I do have a debt with ABC and Associates, or a collection agency. It's mostly the third party. You never see really a hospital, but if you do see a hospital debt, it can be negotiated. Some clients, they're not into the fighting part, and they want faster responses and results. So what I would suggest with those clients is like, okay, well, if we have a goal and we have to get you into a home or a car within 6 months, it may take longer than that to fight the third party. But what we do is that we negotiate with that third party debt collector, and we say, okay, I will get this removed, and we will pay you X amount of dollars, contingent upon you removing that on our credit report. And it's written in a contract so that it's a mutual agreement.
So it's taken off the report.
Definitely.
Okay.
Definitely.
That's good to know.
Yes.
Okay, so we're going to pivot a little bit. That's personal. So how can, we're going to come back to that.
Okay.
So as a business, how can one build business credit? And is it okay to commingle the personal and the business?
And that's a great question. We can do both. You can do, especially when you're first in business, and if you have a great FICO score, this is the one where you're connecting the personal with the business. If someone's credit's great and they just started the business is not reported with Paydex, or Duns and Bradstreet, which is like the credit reporting agency for a business, then we want to say, okay, we have to build it up. Well, let's build it up. We can use your personal credit as personal guarantee so that you can get funding faster. So if let's say, for instance, you establish an entity, an LLC or a corporation tomorrow, and you have great credit, but that entity is so new. So how do we get that? Well, we're going to have some personal guarantee.
Okay. So what would be, as a new company, what would be a good company to start off, or how would I establish? Where would I go for that?
Well, we would build the business up, the entity. Okay. We can add trade lines to it.
Trade lines, okay.
We can add trade lines, and a lot of people say, like, I just did a post on social media about trade lines, because most people don't know what that is.
So tell people what
trade lines is very easy. It's like trade lines. Everything that's reported on your credit is a trade line, whether it's a negative trade line or a positive trade line.
Okay.
A positive trade line would be like, let's say, I have an unlimited American Express card, and let's say your credit's not that great, and you need some more revolving accounts added onto your credit so we can bring you up. So I say, hey, Rolanda, I'm going to add you as authorized user on my account.
Okay.
So now I get a credit card in your name, but I'm going to shred it. I'm not giving you access to my card. I'm just allowing you to get the history that's on my credit on your report. So what happens is it happens faster that way. It gives somebody an opportunity to get to where they're trying to get to, versus trying to establish it from the bottom up, which could take 12 months to 24 months, and that'll allow them to be able to compete and get into the game quicker.
And the difference between you mentioned a Dun and Bradstreet number, right? Or
Duns and Bradstreet, right?
But you should apply for that, right? As a business. You
want to register it,
okay?
Because that's creating the visibility of the business with credit. Because again, just like you have Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion on personal credit, you have Equifax business credit as well. You can do that with Duns and Bradstreet. So if anybody does a search on your credit for your business in Duns and Bradstreet, it'll come up. Okay, it'll show all the history on that business credit, which is attached to the tax ID. And and you can go into the website, look how long it's been in existence, the credit rating and the credit standing, all of that information would be on there. So it's just kind of like the database for business credit.
So in terms of score for Dun and Bradstreet or a business, what's the scale and how does that work?
And that's a great question. Well, it depends, because again, if you're doing personal guarantee with your credit report attached to it, it's a little bit different. They're not looking at the credit of the business because it is irrelevant. They're using your history on your personal credit to help you. But if it's a credit, a corporation that's been established and it's been great, so you want a score that's, well, I have to. There's a lot of different.
What's a good score
for business?
For business.
Well, we're going to come back to that because there's a lot of contingencies in that, and I'm going to show you. I have actually something here in writing.
Okay.
And hold on a second.
Okay. Well, in the meantime, so we'll come back. We're gonna bookmark that one.
Yes.
So what's the range for personal score as far as scores?
Well, you can start off at 650 FICO, 620 FICO on certain things, but again, it's the body and the meat that's in the credit report.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, if you don't have anything in there and you have a 700 score, then having the score doesn't help anything.
Yeah.
You have to have the meat. You have to have revolving accounts that are.
Okay. Oh, I'm so glad we're talking about this, girl. Okay, so, but you didn't answer my question. So what's a low score? What's the lowest score?
A low score is in the 500s.
Okay,
Most of my clients, when they come to me, a lot of them, especially of our people, it's very low, 500 FICO score.
And what's the highest?
You can go as high as 800.
800?
800, 850. But whether you're at 750 or 800, you're still in the same ballpark figure. Except with mortgages, it's a little bit different with the ranking and how they score it. And when you're getting a car, they have a different type of credit system. But if you're in the 700, 720, you're in the game. You can go ahead and get funding. You can get funding for whatever you need at a great interest rate, because that's what the goal is, to be able to get the interest rate either 0% or as low as you can get it. That's why I have some clients that when they have like a high credit, they have like a high balance with a credit card at a high percent, like let's say for instance 22%, which is very high. That's like usury. So how do we help that person save money? Well, we can, if we fix that credit and we bring it up higher, we can transfer that over to a low APR interest rate credit card, which would allow them to save interest, because that's where most of the money comes in. How much money they're spending is the interest that they're spending on that type of loan, and it doesn't make any sense. So it's like, well, let's transfer that over and refinance, or let's consolidate it into another credit card where you can save some money in the long run.
Good stuff. So
yeah, I'm getting to that information.
Yes. Okay. So when you say the meat of credit, you mentioned revolving installments. Give me the different types of the meat.
We have mortgages, we have installment accounts, which is like educational loans. Like if you have a student loan, that would be considered an installment. Those are pretty good for history purposes, but most of the time, if people are still in school, they're deferred. With revolving accounts, that would be like a credit card. So if you have like an American Express, Capital One card, MasterCard, you know, those are considered revolving accounts.
So could you have too many revolving accounts and too many?
Yes.
And it'll hurt your score?
It can. But the thing is that you want to keep it within a certain amount.
That's what I was going to ask. So what type of, what's good on a report when it comes to defining a good credit report for someone?
You want to have at least 3 revolving accounts, at least 3 that are in good standing, and that they're not like 30% or more of the available credit. So if you have $1,000 of available credit, you don't want to exceed 25%, 30% of that available credit. So you may want to just use $250, $300 on that account. Or if you use even higher than that, just try to pay it down and bring it down to that.
But it's good to use the credit.
Definitely. You have to use it.
You have to. So, but if you don't.
But if you don't use it, sometimes they close your account.
Okay, so let's talk about that.
Yes.
So when an account is closed, is it whether the company closes it or it's voluntarily closed? How does that affect your credit?
I always advise, if your account is at 0 balance, use it, even if it's to pay for gas, but don't close it, because that's considered a trade line. Getting back to what a trade line is. That's a trade line, and it's a positive trade line. So you want to keep those trade lines open, because it's showing credit history. And it's also showing, well, hey, Ro has $5,000 and she's not using the credit card. She's only using $25, $100.
And can they reduce the balance if you
don't
use it?
They can reduce the balance, or they can increase it. So I have clients that have had relationships with credit card companies for 7 or 10 years, and they are neck and neck. They're maxed out, and I'm like, we have to bring those balances down. They're too high. That does affect FICO score. But another way to go around it is you can call the bank and say, hey, you know, we've had a relationship for X amount of years. Can you increase this credit balance? Because it'll help the ratio so that it's not so tight, and that's not looking good. It looks like you're living outside of your means and you're maxed out and you're maxing out. It doesn't look good, and it's gonna be a red flag to get a funding and approval.
Okay.
I'm getting to the
so bankruptcy. What's best? The 7? Well, I do know that, what is it, 7?
Chapter 7, Chapter
13
11.
and 11. So which one is personal and which one is the business? Applies to business.
Well, at the end of the day, you can apply Chapter 7 or 11 to any of the business or personal credit. The thing is that you have to understand the difference between the 3.
Right.
Some of them you have to still pay the balances. So they may just reduce some of the balances and waive some of the fees that are involved. Like, okay, you owe $100,000. They would reduce it to $50,000, but then you're still responsible for that 50. And they do that with IRS with a 1099. Well, you know, there's 3 different kinds, and you have to really talk with a professional, like an attorney, someone that can give you a better guidance depending on your situation and what's going on. So everyone's in a different scenario with Chapter 7, Chapter 11, Chapter 13.
Okay, so Chapter 7 does what?
Well,
it's supposed to remove all debt?
Well, I'm going to give you I'm going to read it verbatim, but again, you want to talk to a tax attorney, I'm sorry, a bankruptcy attorney, because I don't give legal advice, and if you want to seek legal advice, you should seek a competent attorney, because, you know, I would be considered giving legal advice. But Chapter 7, Chapter 11, and Chapter 13 all have a different process, and it depends on what is on your credit. If you have, like, let's say, a mortgage, sometimes those mortgages can be foreclosed and can be written off as a bankruptcy, but that still doesn't alleviate you from paying any debt.
Being responsible.
That's right.
Debt, yeah.
You have to still be responsible for the debt, but you may still be living in the house. Like, I have clients that did that, and they were in foreclosure, and they were able to still remain in their household. But your credit is another aspect. So now you get to start all over again. But it doesn't remove from like 7 or 10 years. It stays in your credit. But we fight those. We fight those cases.
So with your business, would it be better for someone to call you to have you assist them with rebuilding their credit and removing debt, or would I know it's a plus for you, but what if someone wants to do it on their own? Can you do you have classes? Can you kind of counsel them?
Yes, and we do provide both services. At first, when I started the business, I was just doing it with myself, and I hired a team of people to help. But we also have, we're going to have an ebook coming out very soon, so look out for that, everyone. Go Crown Credit ebook, and it's going to be helping people do it on their own. Some people are funny; they don't want to share their credit information, and you can't blame them, and that's fine. They have the liberty to do that, and it's going to be like a step-by-step on how to. And we also provide. We're going to be providing the letters that allow them to go ahead and do it on their own if they choose to.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay, so my last question to you would be. We talked about generational issues,
wealth, and building. Yes.
What is a good age to teach children about finances and about credit? Because as when the child is born, they are assigned a social security number, and I always tell young kids,
corporate fiction.
Yeah. I always tell kids you never want to mess up your credit, your social security number, or your credit, or your driver's license. Because that's gonna mess you up. You stumbled. So most importantly, what is the best age to start teaching our children about?
As soon as they can do math, as soon as they can do 1 + 1 = 2, then you start teaching them about financial literacy. Like my son, he's 7 years old, and he's with me all the time. I'm teaching him the business. He'd be like, "Mommy, go Crown Credit." I'm like, "Yeah," and I look at these numbers, and then he wants to know, and just information showing them that.
And the other thing I think where we kind of mess up is we don't involve our children when it comes to paying the bills and how to teach them about. They don't teach this in school, so I think at what point do you start to teach it at home? So
early. Early. The minute that they're like sponges. They absorb everything. So the minute they're around you in the table, and I'm balancing my checkbook, my son is like, "What is that, Mom?" And I'm like, "This is a checkbook. This is how you pay bills." And look, you see there's a debit and a credit side, and just teaching them. We do real estate investing as well. So he comes around and looks at the properties. I tell him what the asking price is, what we're going to sell it for, and what we're going to make as a profit, if it's going to be like a wholesale flip or something like that.
That is so good.
He has to know, he has to be involved. Like last night I was at a meeting where there were other real estate investors, and their children own property. 8 years old, owning property. I mean, they own the property and they go and collect the rent. Like, make them part of the experience. Take them to the tenant and have them give them the payment for the rent, because it shows them, oh wow, this is real. Real estate is real. Building wealth is real, and it starts at home. And most of our people, especially our people, the so-called Negroes, Latinos, the disenfranchised in America, they need that. They need that information. They need to be involved in finances because it seems so foreign to our people, because they don't know how to begin. Well, we begin with credit. We begin with how do we stop consuming. It's all about consumption versus investment, where that same money that you're spending, instead of going to buy Jordans, go get a subscription with credit, so that you know what's going on with your credit.
Don't get me started on shoes. I can't. The most I think I have spent, everybody is into the Louboutins, and the guys are into, paying $300, $400, $500, and I love them, but they dress very nice. That's on them, but I refuse to pay $1,000 or $2,000 on a pair of shoes. I can't do it.
It's just
I refuse to do. Now everything else, cars, my lifestyle, I will do that, but if I don't have it in my bag, I won't walk on it.
It doesn't make sense.
I won't do it.
Most of our people, they use credit to consume instead of using credit to grow, because you can do one or the other. You can use credit to consume and say, well, let me go shopping. I'm going to the Lenox Mall and I'm just gonna go and splurge. When you can use that same credit to use it as leverage and liquidate yourself and say, you know what, I'm gonna take this $10,000 that I have just approved by this credit card and apply it to an investment, a real estate investment that can bring me back $30, $50, $100,000. It's a no-brainer. But if they don't know how to do that, they're just going to continue. We've been programmed to consume.
Conditioned, yes.
Right. Videos, music videos, and a lot of our people that are making it, that's what they're promoting. And I don't agree with that, because our people are damaged. They need the help. They need people to love them and support them and say, look, it can be like this or it can be like this. You can be a positive or you could be a negative. I'd rather have a positive, a bank account where the money's rolling in. You know, residual income. 7 streams of income. It doesn't have to just be one way. It could be many ways.
We got stuff to talk about, girl. Okay, so we're going to go in another direction, because you sound like you're really passionate about what it is that you're currently doing. Tell me a story that an obstacle that you've overcame in maybe a challenge or something that people can actually identify with.
Yes, I've had many obstacles. It's not easy to to want things in life, and not, like, for instance, I come from a home where my family didn't teach me about finances. I went to college, and I thought, okay, I'm going to get into economics and finance, and even then, the school didn't teach me how to do these things. How do I be successful? How do I make my money work for me? I've always had that spirit in me where I wanted to succeed and grow, but I felt, I'm from the Bronx, born and raised in the Bronx, and when you come from the inner cities, that's not what's taught to you. So I failed. I've learned. I went to college. I had a student loan that was not that big, because I ended up getting a scholarship because I was always a reader. I was never like into the TV and all that. I was always reading and trying to progress. But I was, I failed. I was in the mortgage and real estate business. I did very well. I made a lot of money. I was living in Westchester County. I made a lot of connections. In 2007, 2008, I went through so many financial setbacks because I had real estate and I had a big business, and I had to shut down. I had to shut down, and I went from like making thousands of dollars a month to zero. And I was just like, how do I cope? I mean, it was just difficult. So I was just like, wow, I lost everything. I had to sell stuff to stay, to sustain, to live. And it was a humbling experience because that's how you learn. But you know what? I was like, and then I had many of those clients that I helped get into their mortgages and buy properties, who were calling me like, I'm going in foreclosure. What do I do? Wow. I'm losing my home. We were all in the same position. We lost, and I was like, and I felt I was dealing with my own problems, but I've always had that, perseverance where I was like, you know what, I feel like I'm responsible for these people. These are my people. So I had information that they still didn't know, even though they were in their properties. So I said, look, don't get discouraged. We're going to do something. So I started studying really hard about what is really going on here. How did this foreclosure and this real estate business go downhill? How do I come out of this dark stage? So I started to visiting these clients, and I said, look, they were like, I've hired attorneys. I'm going to lose my home. I'm going to be homeless. And I said, well, no, we're going to have to do something about it. So I started studying heavy about what was going on about securitization, how to stand up in court, how to learn your rights as a homeowner. And I started helping them. So then I started a business called Homeowner Defense, which was not giving them legal advice, but educating them about what their rights are, so they know that, if these attorneys are not doing anything to help you, you can help yourself. And it was successful. People started fighting back. Their court cases were getting thrown out of court, and some of them are still in their homes. So a lot of these attorneys were just kind of buying time, and then towards the end it was like, okay, you're still going to be foreclosed up against anyway, or here's a loan modification, or those were not solutions. They were just like band-aids on a big wound. So
it's something that we're still going through right now, with the repercussions right now. So, but yeah, definitely.
So I started just embracing that and help, but it was getting overwhelming because I had clients nationwide. I mean, people everywhere were calling me like, I need your help. What do I do? So it just started becoming like that. So I said, you know what, this has to turn around. And the economy started improving. And I said, okay, well, why don't we do something to help them with their credit? Since I've already been in credit for so long with the mortgages and stuff, let's try to repair that so maybe we can refinance you. Because when your house is upside down and you borrowed 100% financing or 80% financing, loan to value, and the value goes down, up, and your house is neck and neck, which is considered a negative amortization with your property value and what you owe, there's no space, there's no room to do anything. So that's what we started working on. I said, okay, we're not gonna let this defeat us. This is a beast like demonic situation, and we're victims because we didn't know what was going on. We thought when I was in the mortgage business, I would have banks coming into my office telling me, okay, I have a new product, here it is. This product is going to give them 100% financing. It's going to allow them to get into a home with no money down. But we didn't know what the repercussion was. At that time, I was passionate just to help the people get into their home because that's what they wanted.
That's the American dream.
Yeah, definitely. So then it just turned into American nightmare when they were like, "What am I going to do? I'm about to lose my house." Or the interest rates were adjusting, and they were like, it was just crazy. But I lived through that. I failed. I lost a lot, but that allowed me to come back up and just be, more passionate and go harder for my people because they're the ones I focus on. I focus on the people that are the disenfranchised in America because they need the help. They really need it. And they're the ones that suffered. Okay? They lost jobs and, it was just a nightmare.
Like I said, we're still feeling it, but now that Obama was in office, he just cleaned up. They're not going to give him credit for it, but we're not going to go into politics right now. That's on a whole nother scale. But okay, so the next thing I want to do, I want to do 60-second questions. So you have like 60 seconds to answer these questions. As many questions as you.
Let me wipe the sweat off my forehead.
So let me get my timer here. This is going to be the fun part. Let's see. Hang on a second. Let me get. Okay. Ready?
Yep.
First question. What's the first thing you do when you get up in the morning?
I thank the Most High. I'm like, thank you, God, Lord God of Israel, for allowing me a new day and this breath in my mouth.
What time do you get up in the morning?
5 a.m. every morning.
Cold or hot breakfast?
Hot.
Tea or coffee?
Coffee.
One thing you can't live without?
My son.
One thing you wish you knew how to do?
I wish I knew how to ride a motorcycle.
Oh, that's good. Oh, yeah, on the wild side. I like that. Manicure or pedicure?
Both.
Hip-hop or jazz?
Hip-hop.
Intelligence or common sense?
Common sense.
Book smart or street smart?
Both. We need them both, but I would say street smart.
Okay. New Yorker, huh?
Yeah.
Movie or book?
Book. Definitely.
Cake or pie?
Pie.
Heels or flats?
Heels.
What would you spend your last $20 on?
An investment. I don't know. $20 can like that was fun. I love that.
Fun. Good. Okay. Well, I think that sums it up. Are we?
Shoot, I was sweating. I was sweating listening to those questions. You sound happy.
I'm like,
she did good.
On the spot.
She did good.
On the spot.
Okay. One last question. Are you a part of any organizations or foundations?
Yes, I'm glad that you mentioned that. I'm actually part of the I Have a Dream Foundation. They were the people that financed my college education in the 6th grade. So they were with me from then to college when we graduated. But more importantly, my passion of helping people is the Hebrew Israelites. They're the ones that know who they are according to the Bible, and they follow the scriptures to the best of their ability, law, statutes, and commandments. And that's who I embrace because they're growing worldwide, and we know who we are. We're waking up that the real Jews are the so-called Negroes in America. And the 12 tribes includes the Latinos, Native and Seminole Indians, and West Indians, and they are people who go by these bywords. Oh, I'm black, or I'm Jamaican, or I'm Dominican, or they are the children of Israel, and we're rising worldwide. And I help a lot of those people that are in need because they have GoFundMes. We're disenfranchised. So someone passes away, they need money. That's another thing we need to talk about: life insurance and how to help people, because
yes, that's another part of
everyone's always
wealth.
a GoFundMe, and you're like, so you die and you're still responsible for helping somebody get buried, and those are sad things, realities that we deal with.
That is
So that's who I
true.
embrace, and I help a lot, especially because they need help. Some single moms that are getting evicted or can't pay their rent for whatever reason. I have a passion for that because you can't forget them. The fatherless, the widows, those women that, because I'm a single mom, so I know what it's like. I know what it's like to be, you know, on your own and juggling it all.
Women are strong. Do you offer, not offer, but what about mentorships? Are you a part of any organizations?
Yes, well, I mentor. I haven't set up any organization. It's kind of like more independent.
Okay.
It's not under any umbrella, but I mentor as many people as I can. I love my people, so I do the best that I can to help them. If they call me, hey, I need to, like, you know, I met a couple of sisters last night. They were like, I really need help. Can you tell me what I need to do? You know, I'm always open and available. My number's available because I want to be just, you know, transparent and be able to help them and show them from my own experience. We can help each other out.
Yeah, we have to. I mean, that's our obligation. That's why we're here. I mean, we have to be able to help
serve.
I mean,
serve,
especially with kids. I mean, we may be able to work together because I'm a part of another organization that we came up with or created a few months ago, mentorship, and one of them is what's an orphanage. So we need more women to mentor some of the young girls, so we could definitely partner.
I would be more than happy to do that. I would love that, and give them that spiritual need that they need. They need that love and support. Yeah, they definitely do. Yeah, I would love that.
Thank you so much.
No, thank you, sister. It's been beautiful being here. I love this.
Thank you for being my first guest on Top Atlanta.
OnTopAtlanta.com. Visit the website, goldcrowncredit.com. Visit us on Facebook. We have a Facebook page, Instagram, on social media. We're growing, and we want to help other people grow and invest and learn about wealth and finances. It's important, and our children.
Yeah, very important. Well, folks, and there you have it. Thank you for joining us on Top Atlanta, and we will see you soon. Be easy.
Shalom.